So here I am with Miss Anna Brown for a extraordinary but totally ordinary conversation on unspeakable bliss. This is episode number 15. And I like to think of this more as a conversation than an interview. So if you have anything you want to ask me as well. However, I do have 13 questions that I wrote down as I was listening to some of your material. You know how I first came about your work, Anna?
How?
I was just on YouTube and I typed in, I was just seeing, I listened to Rupert Spira, Tony Parsons, all of these people that I'm sure you're very familiar with. And then I don't know, I think you popped up just from searching non-duality. And when I first heard of you, my partner, she was like, this is like your twin. And I think the first moment, and there's just like, and I just feel such a resonance with you. And so, I'm just, this is kind of surreal to be able to talk to you like this. So again,
that's beautiful. Yeah. Isn't it mysterious how life just pops up to YouTube like that? It's wonderful.
Yes. Oh, well, Unspeakable Bliss. The reason why I call my podcast Unspeakable Bliss, I'm sure you could probably guess, it's because I can't really say anything about what we're going to try and talk about today.
Yeah. We'll just play with it so we can relax about it then, right? Yeah.
That's right.
We're never going to get the words right. So we'll just have some fun. Yeah.
Cool. Nice sweater.
Thank you. It's cold here today. It's only like 40 degrees right now. So I'm like, you know what? Sweater weather.
Unicorns and hearts. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's a little Christmassy, but hey, it's okay.
So you're a mother of two, is that correct?
Yes, I am. I got a 7-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So this is the last question that I wrote down, but I think it might be fun to begin with it.
Okay.
A friend of mine who has had, let's say, for lack of better words, non-dual experiences. She was like, Christopher, talk to me about this when you have kids. She's like, there's nothing that makes the illusion more real than growing another human being inside of yourself and then giving birth. And I'm wondering if you could comment on what your experience with that is.
Well, and see, I wouldn't say illusion. I would say it's real and it's unreal simultaneously. So there's the realness of what's arising, which could be vomiting or getting larger and puffy and, the aches and pains that come with pregnancy and as well as the childbirth, but it's immediate. So with non-duality or awakening to yourself as source or presence, it's just everything's immediate. You're right here. And it's either comfortable or it's not comfortable. It's challenging or it's not challenging, but you have nowhere to escape. Meaning like the head game's over, so you're here. There's no longer a projection on what this is. It's just naked, raw, and alive, right? So from the external, you could look like you're crying or face is red and clenching, but it's just responses of life. There's no mental narrative going on. There's just the body responding to what is. There's no longer, let's say, the narrator going, God, why is this happening to me? Did I do something wrong? What does this mean? There's just the aliveness of this. So the illusion is really the narrator, the one who's constantly placing meaning. Otherwise, there's just what's appearing. So it's real and unreal. It's a paradox. Yeah.
But what am I going to do when I don't have anything left to figure out?
Oh, well, there's still changing diapers and feeding babies and folding laundry and brushing your hair and brushing your teeth. Basically, the show goes on, but for no one, because here's the greatest surprise was this never was running the show. So your voice still sounds the same. Your personality is the same. Certain habits are still there. What falls away is more of the neurotic habits of, I have to do this. I ought to do this so I can be worthy for X, Y, Z. Those things fall away and you're naturally worthy, which means you're just operating out of inspiration or what needs to be done, which could be folding laundry or taking care of your baby. Yeah. Yeah. Just becomes immediate.
Was there ever, I listened to the Letting Go and the Greatest Secret podcast that you did recently. Yeah. And then the one prior to that, I think it was in June. I don't remember the title of it, but I'm wondering, was there ever, it sounded to me like your awakening, again, air quotes around whatever that
Right.
is,
Yeah.
was kind of gradual. Was there ever a moment though? Was there like a moment where things, so to speak, turned inside out and you were like, whoa, this is what it is? Or was it totally kind of a steady VI drip of awakening?
All right. So self-recognition is instant. When you recognize yourself as source or timeless awareness, it's absolutely instant. You cannot take it back. But what seems to be like a process unfolding in time is your body catching up, your body getting rid of habits, your body shifting into the energetics that is source, that is this simplicity. So if your body was trained for unworthiness and abuse and hatred and lack, it could seem like there's a natural withdrawal period of those types of matrices. But you're awake, you're confident, you're alive, you're just the space now where all of that is unfolding naturally, which could mean uncomfortable, right? Yeah, withdrawal doesn't always mean comfortable, but it is what's arising. Yeah, I mean, come on, like when you quit coffee or anything even like that, your body will go through some kind of stuff, right? Yeah, so you're awake, your body's not.
So I'm hearing you say it was gradual and it was sudden.
Absolutely.
Simultaneously.
Yeah, paradox.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is one that I'm having trouble still fitting the right words around this question, but I was thinking about asking you this. Do you think that there's I have this idea, and I don't know if it's just a deep-seated belief that's kind of residual, still kind of running off, but that if everybody understood this, and I don't mean understand just intellectually, but recognition that would somehow be really awesome or really good for humanity. And I'm wondering if that kind of idea exists inside you or how you relate to that.
Well, we're speaking of an eternal drama. So there will always be war, there will always be poverty, there will always be famine. There's always going to be the apparent opposite, because oneness needs the apparent opposite for contrast of growth and exploration and adventure. We're talking about Leela, we're talking about Maya. This here will always be yin yang, meaning there has to be a shadow. There will be night, there will be seasons. So you will never get rid of what we call the shadow or the darkness. It has to be in order for form to even appear, right? It has to be. Now, what can seem to happen is golden ages can arise or even dark ages, but within form, we're going to oscillate. So sure, it can seem like we're building a collective and it seems like we're getting more in harmony, but we're talking about this eternal drama. There will be a dark age, there will be a golden age. It will cycle. It will cycle. So what we're speaking about here is going beyond the play altogether and recognizing for what this is. This is fleeting. It will not last, even if we all seemingly come into harmony. It's a dream. Yeah, not right or wrong, but we're talking about form and its eternal drama.
Do you think it could be like saying duality is always seemingly appearing to or within non-duality?
Yeah, and you can't separate them. You could say they're the same, right? So this obviously there's an appearance of two-ness here. So all that seems to drop within oneself is dogma, rule books, Bibles. Like you return to a beginner's mind, you return to the childlike wonder that you are. But here's the beautiful part: you're ancient simultaneously. So you're still fresh as a newborn babe, and yet you're as old as fucking dirt. But it's right here, right now. It's not something you need to recall from a book. It's just coming out of the wellspring of yourself, because you are source, you are everything. So of course you have access to all of the wisdom, and yet because you're the void, nothing, you're as fresh as a baby. You can meet everyone where they're at. You can meet this day fresh and new because you don't have the memory of yesterday anymore clinging to you. It's weird. Yeah.
Do you think about like, why am I, okay, just to give some context, I share on very similar things as well with those that I talk to. And okay, I'm going to answer my own question by sharing with you my answer. And then I'm curious to see what you think about it. although I could share about anything, right? Lollipops and rainbows and
Oh,
psychology,
totally.
right? Anything goes. But
Totally.
there's
Yeah.
there's this, at least right now for me, the most, I hesitate to say the word most important thing that I can
Yeah.
talk about is this, and the meaning and the end of suffering, or whatever these
Right.
subtle things are. But okay, the question that I wrote down is, do you think this is the most important thing that you could be sharing? And there's like a subtle assumption in there with that word, like important, or would you say it's naturally what's arising? Or what do you think
Yeah,
about
again, it's a paradox. It's a purposeless purpose. Like it's a meaningful meaninglessness. Like you know what I mean? Uh, yeah, but this what we're talking about here is no more different than if we were sitting down talking about our favorite tea or coffee.
Right.
Unless you ask the mind, because the mind's always like, well, this is more important than this, and there's the hierarchies, and we're
Yeah.
just like, oh my, it's so simple. I mean, it's the breeze, it's this, it's everything. But of course, each character is going to resonate and lean into something versus the
Mhm.
other, because that's just diversity. Obviously, we can't all be the same.
Yeah. Yeah. So does this question make sense? What are the implications of an apparent someone else understanding and knowing this? Like what
Oh,
would, practically speaking?
well, practically, it doesn't really matter because everything goes on this. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it's beautiful when one recognizes this simplicity because there's a release of energy. Like if one has been neurotically hating on themselves and their neighbor and just berating themselves, and then they come to recognize
It
it's the
disappears.
simplicity, it's a joy to see. It's absolutely a joy to
Yeah.
see. But there isn't anyone here that's like, it needs to happen. I need you to see this and for me to be okay. It's just, oh, if the flower blossoms, my God, it's a delight to walk by and smell. But if it doesn't, who cares? It's still the flower, it's still the flower. Yeah. And that's what's seen. It's all oneness playing with itself. So why would I need to alter that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was, I don't know, 22, 23 years old, when my body was 22, 23 years old,
Mhm.
I had a heroic dose of psilocybin mushrooms.
Oh,
And
wow.
that means that, you know what a heroic dose is?
No, I don't. What is that?
Okay. It's just a lot, over
Oh,
5
okay. That's what I was
grams.
thinking. That's what I was thinking. Okay.
Yeah, because I read about Ram Dass and people talking about, oh, you can
Yeah,
have what's known as an ego death if you just
sure.
either meditate long enough, I guess, is
Yeah.
one route, or do this. And I was like, I was a meditator. Had meditated.
Right.
I had put my hours in as a meditator. I'm like, all right, I've
Yeah,
meditated
man.
for 100 or so hours or whatever. Now I'm going to reward myself by having a bunch of mushrooms to see if I could have this.
Yeah.
Anyway, I did. And
Mhm.
Anna, I lost my mind. I lost my fucking mind. And I was
Yeah.
alone, which was,
Mhm.
I won't get into the importance of why I was doing it alone, but I just didn't want
Mhm.
another consciousness, like
Right.
another
Yeah.
there, just on my own. And I'm literally like, come back. I want my ego. I want my problems. I want my sense of separation, whatever, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
And all I can say to you,
Yeah.
which you might resonate with, is I was looking through my own eyes, but they were no longer my own eyes. And I was looking at my
Yeah.
own hands, but they weren't my
Yeah.
hands. There was just nothingness, right?
Yeah.
And I diagnosed myself with schizophrenia, and I'm like, this is just, and I'm freaking out. And then finally, I spontaneously had a moment of self-inquiry. I probably formally knew about self-inquiry then, but it's not like I was
Yeah.
thinking, oh, I'm going to do self-inquiry to get myself out of this. And I said to myself, if no one's here,
Yeah.
then who or what is so worried about it? And in that moment, like everything,
Yeah.
the whole experience, the most terrifying experience of my life too. And then I can't even say anything about it because it's all
Yeah.
just the same thing.
Yeah. 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 I get you. Yeah. It's, yeah.
I get,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's the reason why I'm sharing with you that psychedelic experience. I'm curious if you've had experiences with psychedelics.
I have never done shrooms. The only thing I've ever done is one dose of DMT when I was 18 because my dealer was out of pot.
Okay,
That's it,
fair
man.
enough.
That's it. Yeah. That and cannabis, that's it. So I can't relate to that. or tap into any of that. Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned cannabis, because with cannabis, I've then, well, that's the thing. Like, how do you even, again, talk about it when I'll go to my partner. I'll be like, baby, this time nothing happened. But I mean, like, nothing really happened, and it really didn't happen to anyone. She's like, yeah, but hasn't this happened before? I'm like, yeah, but this time it really didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, it did and it didn't.
Right.
It did and it didn't.
Right, because there's like this energy of, oh yeah, I'm over here walking around thinking I'm this guy, and I am, and I'm not. But yeah, so and oh,
well, you could say the thought slows down, and then there's just zoom. You're here, and there isn't so much like the back and forth of like, who's doing that? Who is this? What is that? Like, you become almost like an animal again, very primordial and primal. Like a cat doesn't have self-consciousness. It's not constantly going, stand up straighter. Why are you wearing that? Why are you laying there like that? You should be doing more. It's just doing its thing. So it doesn't have that kind of commentary of like, who said that? Was that the ego or was that me? There's just words. There's just movement. And there's no longer a care of like, who said that? Because there is only totality. There is only the absolute. It's appearing as a human. And I really feel like this is like the missing piece. It's for humanity and Storybook Earth. It's form. There's such a denial with form, denial of mind. I mean, there's just such a denial with this. And also we have these beautiful words like ego and mind and me and all of these stuff, which seems very separative. Like, oh, we're just reeling it all in here and saying it's all the manifestation of the absolute. So what? Yeah. It's just, obviously it's uncomfortable to live through a Bible.
Yeah. Well, I was raised Catholic too, by the way.
Nice. Not really,
Catholic.
but nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got its beauty, but and poison.
Yeah. 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 Mm. So, you're familiar with Rupert Spira, yeah, maybe?
I've never dived into his work. Like, obviously I know his name, but I never resonated with the energetics of his character.
Ah, okay.
I mean, it's simple, it's beautiful, but this just never leaned into it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, what he points to, and this is what I'm finding, I often find myself with other people that I'm talking to about this, is examining that being a body is a belief, and then having feelings of there are like physiological feelings, right? But it's associated with the beliefs, and then examining that all that's really.
Oh, I see where we're going here now. Like, it's not a belief that there's a body. A body's appearing. That's not a belief.
But that the I is a body is a belief.
The I is the body. I don't know. We're
getting tangled. I am a body.
Well, oneness is appearing as a body. That's source appearing as a body. It's light appearing as a body. There is no ego. There is no I. That's the joke, my love.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is it. This is source appearing as Christopher and Anna having a conversation about it, trying to nitpick about ego and mind, but there really isn't one. There isn't. It becomes so just like, even saying mind or ego, you're like, what the fuck is that? Like, It's made up bullshit. It's just made up. We come up with these stories so we can avoid and distract ourselves from the simplicity that is breath, from the simplicity that is what is in front of us, the aliveness, the joy. Instead of, you get what I'm saying? The mind is trying to figure it out, which it is a paradox, because there really isn't a mind. It's just really a bundle of stories, like a bouquet that goes, but this is what I was told, in psychology, or this is what I was told in the spiritual path, or this is what Ramana said, or this is what Nisargadatta said. You know what I mean? Instead of recognizing we are our own authority, and all these other characters were just mirrors of ourself going, but obviously that's highly scary for a mind that lives in prison cell. It wants a leader. It wants to follow, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that's why this is kind of not so popular, because you become your own authority, you become your own Bible, you become your own guru. Yeah.
This was something just the other day I was thinking about. Like, okay, well, when it comes to non-duality and other teachers that I've maybe studied, because I've done that like a lot, maybe there are some assumptions that I, like Christopher appearing my body, is believing. I said, yeah, you know what? Actually, when I look at what's happening right now, all I could really say, and I'm just using I for like, I don't really mean I just mean conventionally, because right, like
Oh
Latin
God, we
language.
have to say we would sound ridiculous if we didn't use the word I. It would sound
Right.
so lame. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, well, even to say like I am just consciousness or awareness, that's kind
Yeah.
of like some beliefs that I've looked at, and I
Yeah,
can
I get you.
feel the truth of it, but really all I'm aware of is that there appears to be something. I don't even know what that something is, and
Yeah.
it could be nothing, and it's just that's it. Like that's all I can really say, because then I'm not
Yeah.
separate. It's not. I don't even have to introduce separation or universe or God. It's just
Right.
here's the
Right.
screen, like you said. Here's
Yeah.
Anna. Here's Christopher.
Mhm.
But those are just labels of. There's
Right. Of
just
what's arising. Yeah.
what is
A
it? I don't
phenomenon.
know.
A phenomenon. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really, it's a mystery. We don't actually know what this is, you
Right.
know? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing is the showing. What we're talking about is actually unknowing. But what's weird is when this is seen, it's like it's unknowable, but yet you're still using words, right? We're still talking in a linear fashion. You know your social security, you know where you live. So it's
Yeah.
amazing how knowing still arises because the knower and the unknown are actually one. So we're not dogging on logic and knowledge. Your
Right.
infinite intelligence, it uses knowledge, it uses logic, but it puts it down when it's done, so to speak. Yeah.
As I
Gotta
was
pay bills,
walking.
right? Yeah, we gotta pay bills. Use that calculator, damn it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I was just
Yeah.
as I was coming to set up the laptop to talk to you today, I was telling Zlatka, my partner, I said, I have all these questions, but I also don't have any questions.
No, I get you. Yeah. Because you know
I'm not
the answer,
asking,
like really, you know the answer. You know what I
like,
mean? But
I'm
but let's
talking to
tap
infinite
into
time.
that
What
for
am
a
I going to
second,
talk
Christopher.
about?
Like let's tap into that for a sec. What's so beautiful
Yeah.
is like, okay, so we're infinite
Yeah.
intelligence, but there's always going to be a, let's say, and I'm using the word interface. There's going to be beings who don't like that. I don't care. There's going to be a finite interface where you as the infinite flow through like an instrument. So there's always going to be this interesting part where you're deepening and discovering. Like it's not like you run through a finish line, you're like, oh, well, I got it all, it's all good. No,
Mhm.
like this deepens and deepens and deepens and deepens because it's eternal and it's infinite. So the finite, we'll say interface, it's like it still floods through that. You know what I mean? So there's still like the wonder and the awe and the speculation and contemplation that appears. It's much lighter. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? So there's still that finite aspect. It's just the finite is not separate from infinity. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why it uses that. You could say that's why it appears as a body, because I mean, when you're infinite, what's to know? You know, what's to do when you're everything? So you seemingly arise and appear as a finite, you know, molecular structure or geometry to kind of play in. That's why they call it Leela, so to speak.
Right.
And that's why this vessel will never get it. But what's interesting is like there's something animating the vessel that knows it all, you know, and that's that quiet contentment or that quiet confidence, even if this doesn't get it fully. You know what I mean? Because I don't get it up here at all. Doesn't make any logical sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, there was I have a quote from you from the Greatest Secret Letting Go
Okay.
podcast that you recently did.
Cool.
I don't want to take it out of context, so I want to like read
Sure.
it to you and then
Sure. Yeah.
talk about that very thing that you just said about like getting it conceptually or
Mhm.
mentally versus,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
without
Yeah. Go for it.
this. You said something like, what doesn't arise anymore is insecurity or doubt about this. All of
Yeah.
that seemingly vanished. When you
Yeah.
said this, about, were you talking about like about life, about the way it is? You said insecurity or doubt doesn't arise anymore.
About what you are. Like there's no
About
longer
what?
a doubt that you're not, if we want to use presence or awareness or source or infinite
Yeah.
intelligence or
Okay.
ether, like there's no longer a doubt about that. There's this confidence that's not of this world that floods through the vessel. We can't ever train the mind to be confident. That's what we do in spirituality and self-help and therapy. it's pseudo. That's why it's never lasting. Like what we're talking about, like, cannot be scarred. It can't be tainted. It can't be taken away or given to you. And that's why this will never get it. That's why it's eternally perfect, because it's available, it's here, and it is all now. Yeah.
So then what I'm curious about, I know you do the group Zoom meetings, and then you have one-on-one conversations with you. I'm curious, like, do you have a list? And I'm laughing because I highly doubt that you have this list of enlightened beings that after talking to Anna.
No way, Jose. Yeah, there's tally marks. I got a board with tally marks. This week there was one. Last week there was 3, but it's okay. We got a graph of how well we're doing here. No, because the enlightenment's another story. There is only light. So to the mind, it's like, let's look at the word enlightenment. Enlighten me. It's about the one who feels insecure. It thinks enlightenment's going to bring him something special, something above, transcendent. We love that word, transcendent.
Other than this.
But no, but this is being in the world and yet not of it. That's why I say this is like the missing piece for Storybook Earth. It's always about, let's get away from form, let's get away from the 3D, let's get away from body, let's get away from mind. Oh wait, oopsies, this is it.
That's a cool story. That's a story.
It is. Yeah, it is. I mean, at the end of the day, every word is a story. Non-duality even is like the mother of all stories. And we're saying, hey, look, guys, there really isn't an end all be all. There is no final truth. You as a generator are creating seemingly your truth through what you're projecting. Now, when you're asleep, so to speak, which just means you're running through a belief. That's all asleep means. Oneness is in a belief. Oneness is playing in a belief, right? And it either snaps out of it or it doesn't. But what's interesting is, like, oneness knows what it's doing. It's like, that's what I mean by it's already awake and it's already confident. It's playing all roles. And no, back to the whole idea of everyone waking up, it's never going to happen. Because it's the eternal drama, right? Of casting seeds. Some will sprout, some will not. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're all oneness. So it's not a competition. This isn't actually happening either. So the whole human race, we take out that race part, and you're just human. You're just a divine man, light man, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
So what do the conversations that you have with people when you're talking one-on-one? Is it just like this? Is it pretty much a similar conversation, or? Yeah,
it can be, or it can be very combative. It depends where the being is. Some beings want to come and they'll fight tooth and nail for where their stance is and their victim consciousness and their stories. And this just doesn't play in those dynamics, But then there's some beings that are just open and they're so ready to hear, and they're done with the whole chasing their own tail. And they're just like, yeah, let me just sit and listen, And I can't say why one's ready to hear while one wants to fight. Again, it's kind of like when you cast seeds, not all are going to sprout. It's just, it's part of the play. This is a play. So there's always going to be someone who gets it, someone who doesn't, seemingly. Yeah. We
got to do something. So,
I mean, well, again, it's chop wood, carry water. It's just this idea that enlightenment, some kind of final goal, that's wiped away. But obviously, dinner has to be made. Right. The cat needs to be fed. Like, all of those things appear, and then to the mind it goes, well, what's the point of that? I thought I was feeding the cat and doing all this stuff for good karma or being a good person in my pie in the sky. You just recognize you're the pie, whatever flavor you want to be. Cherry, blueberry. I mean, you're the whole damn pie. Yeah.
So do people sometimes have, when you're talking to them like that, like, oh, I get it, like, I understand.
Totally. Yeah. There'll be moments of just, it drops, and then you see the eyes go like this upstairs again, and they go, well, but this happened 5 years ago. And you just see the addiction of time. Really, time's an addiction, going to the past or going to the future, where it's a habit of going in and out of time and talking about our woes or our victories, right? It depends on the character. Sometimes we want to talk about all of our achievements. Sometimes we want to talk about how shitty life is for us. It depends on the dynamic of the character, which paradoxically
it just wants to figure something out, right? Like, that's what the mind, it's just you had mentioned in that last podcast, like something like, I wrote it down here. It was the last thing that I thought I was going to talk about, but maybe, why is seeking? Why? I wrote this down because I'm curious about it. Yeah. That's why I don't know why else I'm talking about any of this anyhow. Yeah. why is seeking a habit of the nervous system? Like, why?
Well, think about it. We come into here, and depending on your dynamics of your story, I mean, you're trained. Your nervous system is trained from when you were born. And when until you're like the age of 2, you're just recording. You're just a recorder. Like there's no one in there. There's no one in there. It's just recording.
So it's not
recording.
seeking then.
No, it's not. Obviously, you're just recording. And then like, by 7, you've got what you call your self-consciousness, the insecurities, what I've learned from my mom and my dad and my culture and communities, my church, all of these things. We have that on top of what was natural, because there's a natural personality, right? Just like you can plant 3 maples in your yard, but they're all going to kind of sprout differently and look differently based on like the nutrients and the sunlight. Meaning like you're going to be unique. We're not all going to be the same. You're going to have preferences. You're going to have a personality, just like nature. You don't go to the forest and just see one thing. You know what I mean? It's diverse. There's decay, there's life, there's tons of animals. I mean, why would humans be any different from the natural world?
So it's seeking to ultimately discover itself through variety and diversity, something like that.
Well, no, seeking comes from the idea that you're separate from the whole and you need to make yourself worthy to receive that. I mean, the tree is naturally worthy.
That's coming from seeing that from everyone else when we're
taught it. Like we're taught you're unworthy, you're taught you're stupid,
right.
You're taught you're smart. Like you're just taught these things. You're taught you're a sinner, you're taught you have karma, you're taught there's Krishna, you're taught there's Jesus. We're taught those things. That's obviously not original to what we are. So you could say it's just the recognition by itself, oneness is, oh my God, those were all fables. And they're not serving me at all. Some things will stay. For some beings, like they like to go to Tai Chi or yoga. They still continue to do that after this is seen. They just no longer go with the bells and whistles of, I have to do yoga to be worthy or to enter a higher consciousness. It's just what naturally flows through the character. It's what feels good. So basically you live your life through inspiration, and you no longer look to others of like, oh my God, that's for me, right? Because one man's meat is another one's poison, period. What serves me it may kill you. What serves you, vice versa. And that's why when we're all trying to get together and go, well, do this mantra, do this meditation, take this path, it's really going to help you, it helped me. You don't know that actually. Like you actually don't know if that's going to serve them. For them, it could be living in the wilderness, going hiking, For you, it's sitting with your eyes closed for 2 hours. Like we don't actually know because we're so unique. We need unique nutrients, so to speak. And only you know that when you return to yourself as source. Yeah, only you know that because your body speaks to you too. Yeah, about everything. Yeah.
And that person knows even what the kind of pathway to that, like, well, it's not
absolutely. If you want to say that, absolutely, totally.
Right.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's why that's why comparison's the thief of joy. We've said that since the dawn of time, but the mind can't stop comparing because it lives in the idea of lack, and that's going to bring me closer. And then it comes to find out it doesn't actually. It just gives you an emotional high, but that's really not what we're looking for. Because we think it's going to bring us happiness. We're speaking about something beyond the emotions of high and lows like this. We're speaking of something that's kind of equal, like an equanimity. This character here used to have polarities, right? There'd be high highs and then low lows. And I was in the lows. I really wanted to get back to the highs. So then it started to feel like a drug addiction, right? Where I started to really like those highs. And then when you went low, your body just wanted it high again. So this turns you in, it's really an evenness, which for the mind that was neurotic, it can be very disheartening. Because it's just, there's an evenness, right? Where I'm not getting like super high off of this experience and super low off of this. There's more of an equanimity with things.
Would you have those highs and lows with this? Like, oh, I reached this. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, would there be?
When they were seeking on the spiritual path, there was always highs and lows because it was like, I got it, I lost it. Or, you discovered this new book, or you discovered this teacher or this meditation. It's really exciting and fresh. Yeah, and then this can kind of ruin it because it blows all of the stores down, and to recognize, my God, like everywhere I go and everything I'm doing is it. Yeah, I can't escape it. Yeah.
Yeah. I wrote what I sent you the copy of Gods in Flesh, the little book of contemplations, and there's one of them. I was thinking about this earlier today. One of them is called Hopelessly Free, and it's something like, I can't get out of that which I'm not inside of, and I can't get inside of that which I'm not outside of.
Yeah,
Hopelessly
yeah,
free you, or something like this.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I heard you mention kind of, oh, go ahead. Did you have something?
Oh, no, you're good, man. Yeah.
I heard you, I was looking for it. I may have just not scrolled far back enough on your YouTube channel, but I've heard you reference maybe once or twice. You were trying to you were attempting to make a video talking about this. And from what I understand, maybe I'm making things up, you sort of had an awakening experience of sorts during the filming of that video. Like while you were trying to speak about it, or am I making
I
this
would
up?
have to rewatch it, man. I'm not sure which video you're talking about, but if you find
Okay.
it, send it to me. Go for it. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of videos.
Yeah. Wow. Do I even have anything more? Okay, there's one more actually that I have written down, and then after that, like I really don't know what to talk about, but we'll see. I'm sure you are familiar with this, but apparently quantum physics now is are like, yeah, time and space don't actually even exist.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Quantum
Which is
physics
kind
is
of
pretty close
interesting
to
because
this.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh, science looks like it's proving what we're kind of talking about.
In a way, science is still going to they're always going to dig and look, and they're going to come to find out there's no theory that's ever going to stand up to this. You know what I mean? I mean, the closest thing with quantum physics is, they say that the atom is 99.9%, 9999% space, right? So they're saying all of this is spaciousness appearing, right? They also point out that when an observer comes along, all of this potentiality of light collapses into a particle. Hi, we're a particle right now, seemingly,
Sure.
but it's also simultaneously wave. So yeah, I mean, there's points to that, but the deal is with quantum physics too, is they have a lot where there is an individual consciousness. Now, the one thing I can tap into, and I do see that I really can relate to, and then after that, I can't say too much because I'm not a scientist, the nothing part. There's a lot of like Dr. Joe Dispenza, for example. He'll talk about the nothing, the void, the recognition that, I mean, that's your only space of freedom, so to speak. Otherwise, you're living through a program, right? Like there's no one running that though. Like there's no one in what they call the subconscious. You're an automaton. That's what we call being asleep. It's just a belief running out. The body's been programmed and it's just moving. Automaton. There's no one in there. Now, you only have choice. You only have what they call free will when you recognize yourself as the timeless seer. And it's a paradox because when you recognize yourself as the timeless seer, you don't want the shit you thought you wanted when you felt fractalized. Because now you feel whole. We want those things because we feel not whole. And then when we come to recognize what we really are, we're whole. You know what I mean? So it's like I can go to a point with quantum physics, but at the end of the day, it's still a theory. It's still science, and we're never actually going to be able to figure this out. I mean, the whole universe is a hologram in the sense of it's not actually happening. And the ancient rishis used to talk about this kind of being like a light switch going on and off, just so fast that it looks like it's stable.
And how could we find, if it's, let's just call it consciousness, how, if it is by definition that which is looking, how could it ever present itself as like nothing? Anything I would see would just not be it. I would say, well, that's not, because that's an object appearing to or within the thing itself.
I get what you're saying. So when you return to yourself as, well, the self, this is a dream. This becomes a dream. You're just now lucid. So the objects aren't really objects like you thought they were when you're a mind. None of this is concrete. The wall behind me is not concrete. This body's not concrete. It's very malleable, pliable. It's like liquid love. This is not stagnant and still like we think it is. And that's why things can shift really quickly, because this isn't really real. Yeah. So they're not really objects. If you feel like an object, then there's tons of objects.
Uh-huh.
But when you get what I'm saying, when you're resting as
Yeah.
yourself, it's very clear that it's an appearance, it's a dream. And things can change in an instant because, I mean, time is not linear. But obviously, we have to show ourselves that. Life shows itself that. You know, we have to be our own guinea pigs, so to speak, to recognize what we're talking about here. Otherwise, it's just philosophy. Yeah.
There's an adage, I think I could call it an adage, that says, don't stop seeking prematurely. As in, maybe, to give an example, someone understands the non-dual teaching, yet let's say if they started to talk about it, or even if they weren't talking about it, but basically I'm trying to speak to people who fool themselves and go, I got it, but not maybe it's not stabilized, that the recognition isn't stabilized. And so I have heard from other teachers proposing, and I don't want to put you, I'm not saying that you're a teacher per se.
Yeah. You're good, man. You're good.
Okay, cool. To keep seeking until basically exhausting that system of seeking until one realizes that they are that which they've been seeking. What do you think about that?
It'll exhaust itself naturally. There isn't anyone who's going to do that. It's just it's spontaneous. It exhausts itself. That's why I like to say, you're done with an addiction when you're done with an addiction. Why did I quit coffee today and not last week? Why did I quit smoking today and not 2 years ago? You're done when you're done. It's over when it's over. And I gotta just say, it's really you come to a fed upness with yourself, with your bullshit, with what's arising. I mean, it's really you hit a threshold, and it's kind of oh my God, because we all know this. And that's why I'll say things which doesn't resonate with everybody, that, the seed cracks when it's ready, the apple falls when it's ready. Jesus said, for those who have ears, may they hear. It's going to land when it lands and not a moment before. We're speaking of a mystery. Again, this is the Garden of Eden, and this is, let's use the word God's garden, consciousness's garden, things are going to sprout in their own divine time and things won't as well. But the thing is, when you don't have self-consciousness, you're not so much worried about sprouting or the thing next to you. It's just really the mind projects so much outside of real people, real world, real competition, and it just becomes so it's just you and whatever is immediately in front of you and whatever is serving you. You know what I mean? There's no longer this need to compare or see what they're doing or what is that teacher saying now. It's because all of those teachers you're projecting, they're actually not really there. It's a hologram that you're projecting until you go, oh my God, I don't need you and I don't need you and I don't need you because I got me, so to speak. Because I'm everything. I'm also nothing. So again, it's a humbleness and yet a confidence at the same time. Yeah.
I imagine there's not just one prescription, so to speak, that you would say to one person, but I'm thinking about all those others that will listen to this podcast.
Sure.
And so what do they do?
Oh, yeah. There's nothing you can do to get to where you already are, to your body, to your breath, to your eyes. But what I always suggest is, one, recognize your breath, notice your breath, notice your body. 2, do something you enjoy doing. Go for a hike, make a smoothie,
novel.
Watch a movie, right? Because what we're speaking about really is being with what is. It's enjoying the simple things, like going on a bike ride or making a cup of tea. Yeah. This is all there is. This is it. It's just when we've been on a spiritual or religious path, we're always looking for, the pie in the sky. It's over there and it's over there. It's amazing. But it is a trick. Yeah.
Sometimes with Zlatka, that I've mentioned a few times, that's my partner, will be going for a walk, or let's say an argument arises, and sometimes we'll do this to each other, and we'll be like, well, who's the one that's mad about this?
Oh God, yeah. Me and my fiance, we get bickers and all kinds of stuff, but it's the friction of life. It's the zest of life. Right. Have you ever seen cats that cross each other boundaries? Oh my God.
It's terrifying.
Back up.
The noises they make.
Yeah. Yeah. Why would, oh gosh, I know, right? Why would these be any different? Same with dogs. Same with ducks or anything. Like, for example, I took my dog on a walk the other day, and I live in a village. There's no dog ordinances. My dog was on a leash. I have a Great Pyrenees mixed with Anatolian Shepherd. He's a very big boy. And this other little healer was not.
What is
He's
it?
a Great Pyrenees with a little bit of Anatolian Shepherd. So he's a livestock guardian, real big. Yeah, he's a big boy. Well, another dog in the neighborhood was not on a leash, and he confronted my dog very aggressively. And so it's just what's arising. It's just what's happening, you know? And it's like, those are getting in an interaction. There's a fight, but when it's done, it's like, it's done. The dog goes back to playing and eating and resting and licking itself. It's over. But in the heat of the moment, like, back up. You're in my space. You know what I mean? I'm setting a very strong boundary. I'm protecting my crew. And that's life, protecting life, life appearing as life. And those things don't end. Dog fights, cat fights, human interactions where you're like, hey, this is not respectable. It's not okay. Goodbye. Like, natural boundaries are set because you love yourself so much. You have respect for yourself. So you don't tolerate things that are just obligated or codependent anymore. Like, you don't tolerate that naturally. Yeah. Yeah. But there's no longer an idea of, oh, I got frustrated. That means X, Y, Z. I set a boundary. That means I must have a shadow or karma, or I'm not fully enlightened because I would welcome everybody into my home. Right. Right. Yeah.
I love that the analogy with the dog, because there's dogs do this thing when they, some dogs, I don't know if all dogs do this, shake, they go right after they do that, right after they're in an encounter, because they're actually right, they have this mechanism to get rid of the trauma, I guess, maybe, and then the energy normal. So it sounds like in your experience, it's almost like that mechanism is, it's like you shake it off and you're back to who you are, or instead of you did this, and so that means X, Y, and Z, and building this whole story around them and you.
Right. But for shaking it off for a human could be, you know, running 3 miles or taking the punching bag and going rocky on it. That's what it looks like for the human. Absolutely. Yeah. Right on. Yeah.
Wow. Do you have any questions? Is there anything that you're curious about from the story of, or anything to do with Christopher Kent? You could ask me about other stuff too. I don't know answers.
Do you enjoy coffee, my friend? And if so, what kind?
Do I enjoy talking or coffee?
Coffee.
I love coffee.
Okay. Tell me about, what flavor? Are you like a dark roast, a light roast?
I like a good cappuccino.
Oh yeah. The sugar. You gotta get that sugar in there, right? The cream.
You know, I'm like, sometimes I want a little sugar. Sometimes if it's like,
how do you make a cappuccino without sugar?
Soy milk and coffee and espresso, whipped soy milk. Yeah, but the soy milk usually does have a little sugar in it.
Have a little bit of sweetener in there, right? Yeah.
And okay, so I'm in Bulgaria right now, and they have these machines outside, like these Lavazza machines. Have you ever been to Europe?
No, I have not.
They're just coffee machines, like pop machines outside. You just espresso, cappuccino, latte. Yeah.
Oh my God. I would be probably a little sweaty and a little too hyper, but that's, it'd be delicious.
Did you ask me if I liked coffee because I'm so hyper and amped up for this?
No, I just love coffee too. And it's, it's a very important question, you know, coffee or tea. It tells a lot about a character's personality, you know what I mean? Especially the roast. Dark roast, light roast.
Ramana once said that who doesn't enjoy his light roast won't get free. I don't think Ramana
I believe it. No, but I mean, Jesus, you know, when you're that free though, you can say anything and it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What's your favorite coffee?
Oh my gosh. I love coffee so much. There's this place called Stumptown. It's in Portland, Oregon. And they've got really great coffee, and it's called the type's called Holler Mountain. It's just so delicious. But I like to put a little coconut cream in mine and blend that together. Yeah, it's delicious. Yeah.
Nice. You used to be a transformation health coach or something like this?
You could say like a self-love meditation. I mean,
Okay.
it was more of like the self-development, just had like the spiritual twist. I mean, really, it was more on the lines of like ascension. If you've ever heard of ascension, the ascension process. Yeah, there was that, and there was no option or choice in any of that. But yeah, that totally
Yeah.
flew out here. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
I'm really, really grateful to get the opportunity to talk to you like this. I'm so used to watching you on YouTube that me being on the screen with you, it's kind of sort of fanboying a little bit, if
Like
I'm being
tap,
honest.
tap, tap, tap. Is she going to respond now?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get you. You're good, man. Yeah, it's casual, isn't it? It's just like, we're hanging out in the living room. Yeah.
Just like how I imagined it to be.
Very casual, very cozy. Yeah. Because we're home. You can
Mhm.
finally, you feel at ease because we're at home. Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
did
And
you get this from? I want to know that.
where'd I get what?
Your sweater
Where'd I get?
from this
Oh,
unicorn.
this is a couple years old, but it's from a place called Mod Cloth. Yeah.
Cool.
They've got clothing that's a little mod cloth. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Mm.
All right. Well, I
All
guess
right.
this feels like good of time as any other to wrap up now. Is there anything else that I know you offer your Zoom meetings
Yeah.
once or twice a month. Any way that anything you have
Oh my
coming up?
gosh, yeah. Instead of going on a long spiel about it, if you just
Yeah.
go to my website, wonderfullynothing.com, or under any YouTube video, you'll find my Patreon link and you can read about what we provide there. But yeah, there's Zoom group meetings. There's actually one today here pretty soon. But yeah, it's
Cool.
just very casual. We all gather and we really just kind of celebrate, venerate, and illuminate that which already is. So yeah.
I'll link all that up in the notes to this, and
Cool.
we'll have it up in no time. Literally, we'll have it up in no time.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, thanks for inviting me, and thanks for everyone listening to this far of the podcast. If you haven't checked out yet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much, Anna, and
Yeah.
I will see you when I'm looking at you, and I'll talk to you when I'm talking to you.
Yeah. Feel free to reach out. My email's always open, man. Yeah.
For sure, we'll do.
All the love to you and your partner.
Much love. Hey, thank you to you and your fiance and your big, beautiful dog there, and your two children too.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy Bulgaria, man.
Okay.
Take
All right.
care.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.